Daily learning.
The winter comes, yet my lovely family is far away. As the first pale shimmer of frost began to settle on the edges of the window pane, tracing fragile, crystalline patterns like nature's quiet whisper that the seasons had changed once again, I found myself standing still in the center of a silent room, wrapped not in warmth, but in the heavy weight of solitude. For winter had returned, so predictably, so gracefully, and yet so painfully, without the laughter, the voices, or the gentle presence of my beloved family by my side. While the trees outside gradually shed their last stubborn leaves and allowed the cold wind to strip them bare, I too felt a kind of emotional bareness creeping in, the kind that slowly fills the empty spaces in the soul with a quiet ache, especially when the days shorten and the nights stretch on endlessly, wrapped in the kind of darkness that not even the softest candlelight can truly chase away. It was during one of these early winter mornings, when the sun barely mustered the strength to peek over the horizon, casting only a dull golden glow that faded too quickly into a gray monotone, that I began to realize how deeply the absence of familiar faces had begun to affect every part of my being. Not only my thoughts, which were constantly pulled back to sunlit memories and echoes of shared laughter, but also my actions, which grew slower, more hesitant, as though I were trying to move through water, burdened by emotional weight that refused to be set down. Since the moment autumn slipped away without much protest, and winter claimed the world with her breath of ice, I had tried to fill my days with distractions. Small, seemingly purposeful tasks like rearranging the furniture, alphabetizing the pantry, or baking loaves of bread that filled the air with a comforting scent, though no one would be arriving to break them open at the dinner table. But eventually, those efforts lost their charm, and I found myself spending more time simply staring out the window, watching as the season painted everything in shades of white and gray, as if the world itself had entered a quiet mourning. Back then, time seemed to flow in a rhythm tied to togetherness. We would wake slowly, wrapped in layers of wool and laughter, sip hot cocoa from mismatched mugs while planning the day's simple joys, and fall asleep with our hearts full from nothing more than each other's company. But now, as the clock ticks with mechanical indifference and the days bleed into one another without distinction, I find myself clinging to those memories like lifelines, hoping they will keep me afloat through the long winter ahead. It is not merely the physical absence that stings, though the silence in the rooms and the unused chairs certainly amplify the feeling. It is the knowledge that time is moving forward regardless of where we are or who we are with, that seasons will come and go whether or not we gather to mark them, and that the snow will fall whether or not it lands on shoulders linked in affection, or simply on the bare earth, cold and untouched. There is something about winter that magnifies every feeling. Perhaps it is the way the cold strips everything down to its bare essence, revealing not only the strength of trees that must stand tall without their leaves, but also the fragility within ourselves that we try so hard to mask during sunnier days. And in this season, when my family is scattered across distant places and bound by obligations or circumstances that keep us apart, every memory, every echo, every almost forgotten scent feels sharper, more vivid, like it has been dusted off by the frost itself and placed directly in front of me, impossible to ignore. Evenings are the hardest, for it is during those hours, when the sun retreats quickly, leaving the world bathed in early twilight and the corners of the house grow darker sooner than expected, that I feel the absence most acutely. The familiar rituals that once made winter evenings feel sacred, lighting candles together, wrapping gifts, baking cookies we didn't really need, have been replaced by quiet dinners for one and the sound of the wind howling like a distant song I no longer recognize. Still, even as the longing intensifies and the shadows of memory stretch longer across the walls, I try to find solace in the quiet resilience that winter teaches us, because just as the trees endure their nakedness and the earth slumbers beneath a veil of snow, waiting patiently for the promise of spring, I too can endure this season of distance, holding close the love that connects us even when the roads between us are long and the days feel cold. Though I cannot wrap my arms around them or hear the specific cadence of their laughter bouncing off the walls, I know with certainty that our bond persists in ways that distance cannot diminish. For love, unlike the fleeting warmth of the sun or the temporary fire in the hearth, is not bound by time or space, and even now, scattered as we are, I feel it moving through me like an invisible current, steady and strong. As the weeks pass and the snow deepens, covering the paths and rooftops like a soft, silent lullaby, I begin to notice that even the stillness has its own kind of music, the gentle crackle of ice forming on the edges of the pond, the muffled crunch of footsteps in freshly fallen snow, the distant hoot of an owl echoing through the woods, and in those sounds, however subtle, I find a reminder that the world is still alive, still moving, still holding space for reunions yet to come. Eventually, the holidays will arrive, and though we may not gather as we once did, I will still light the same candles, play the same songs, hang the same decorations with trembling hands and a heart that both aches and hopes, because tradition, though often shared in person, can also live in the gestures we repeat for the sake of memory, for the sake of honoring what once was and believing in what might still be. Even now, as I sit by the window wrapped in an old blanket that smells faintly of cedar and childhood, I allow myself to believe that somewhere, my family is doing the same. Wrapped in their own memories, holding onto the threads of connection that weave us together through seasons of absence and seasons of return. And that eventually, when time allows and paths align, we will gather again beneath a sky heavy with stars, or perhaps beneath blooming trees, and laugh as though no time had passed at all. Until then, I will continue to move through these winter days with a quiet kind of grace, allowing myself to feel the ache without being consumed by it, to remember without unraveling, and to wait. However long it takes, with a heart still tender, still full, still believing that the warmth of family, though distant now, will always return, just as surely as the seasons do. For winter, despite its chill and silence, carries within it a promise that beneath the cold soil, life is merely resting, that beyond the snow-covered fields, color waits to return, and that even in the absence of touch, love remains, unwavering and unbroken, glowing softly beneath the surface, like embers waiting to be stirred back into flame. So I will light another candle, pour another cup of tea, and wrap myself not only in wool but in memory, in hope, and in love, for though winter has come, and though my lovely family is far away, they are never truly gone from me, not in the ways that matter most.
Boom, boom.